The debt remembered. The Calrathi had ruled the outer spiral for 3,000 years. Their ships moved like silver rivers through the void. Their diplomacy had prevented 17 wars, and their medical technology had saved billions across 40 species. They were the galaxy's gentle giants, the peacekeepers who asked for nothing in return, until the Vecran swarm came. The Vecran didn't negotiate. They didn't conquer. They consumed. World after world fell silent as the swarm stripped planets down to bedrock, converting all organic matter into more Vecran. The Calrathi Council watched their outer colonies go dark one by one. Their mighty fleets scattered and broken against an enemy that fought with the mindless efficiency of a virus. Ambassador Thela stood in the council chambers, her forearms trembling. The holographic display showed 17 Calrathi worlds marked in red. Extinction red. Behind her, the other species representatives sat in uncomfortable silence. The Zephrani had already withdrawn their forces. The Moltec had closed their borders. Even the militant Kresh had deemed the swarm too costly to engage. "We helped you all," Thela said quietly, her translator rendering her grief into flat standard. "For 3 millennia we shared our medicine, our technology, our protection. We asked for nothing. And now when we face extinction you offer us, what, sympathy?" The Zephrani ambassador shifted his gelatinous form. "The Vecran cannot be reasoned with. They cannot be stopped. To fight them is to die slowly instead of quickly. We choose survival." Thela's optical organs swept across the chamber, landing on the one representative who hadn't spoken. The human sat alone in the far corner, a species so new to the galactic community that many still mispronounce their world's name. Earth. A small blue planet in an unremarkable system, home to a people who had barely achieved faster-than-light travel. "And you?" Thela asked. "What does Earth say?" The human ambassador stood. She was young by Calrathi standards, barely 40 cycles old. Her name was Chen, and she wore the simple uniform of the Terran Coalition. 200 years ago, a plague hit Earth, a bioweapon from our own stupid wars. It killed 3 billion people in 18 months. We were dying, Ambassador. Our civilization was collapsing. The chamber remained silent. The Calrathi came, Chen continued. You didn't have to. We were primitive, barely worth noticing. But you came. You shared your medical technology. You taught us synthesis techniques we wouldn't have discovered for centuries. You saved us. And when we asked how we could repay you, you said... She paused, her voice catching. You said that kindness needed no payment. Thela's arms lowered. She remembered that mission. It had been her grandmother who had led it, who had returned home saying humans possessed something rare. Gratitude mixed with fierce determination. We remember our debts, Chen said. The Terran Coalition is 7 days away. We're coming with everything we have. The Zephrani ambassador let out a sound like bubbling laughter. Humans, you have 40 ships, 40. The Calrathi had thousands and they're losing. What can you possibly do? Chen's expression didn't change. We can show up. 7 days later, the human fleet emerged at the edge of Calrathi prime space. Thela stood on the command deck of the Endless Vigil, watching her tactical display with growing horror. The Vecran swarm had reached the inner colonies. 3 more worlds had gone silent in the past day. Her people were evacuating, trying to save what they could before the inevitable. Then space folded. The human ships materialized in a precise grid formation. 40 vessels, just as reported. They looked primitive compared to Calrathi design, angular where Calrathi ships were curved, brutal where Calrathi engineering was elegant. They bore names in human languages: remembrance, defiance, unbroken, debt paid. Chen's voice came through on an open channel. Calrathi fleet, this is the Terran Coalition First Response Fleet. We're here to help. Where do you need us? Thela felt something she hadn't felt in months. Not hope exactly, but something close. She pulled up the tactical data, highlighted the 3 besieged colonies, and transmitted the coordinates. There, but Ambassador, you should know, the swarm doesn't stop. Once they commit to a world, they don't retreat. You'll be fighting until you're dead or they are. There was a pause. Then Chen spoke again, and Thela heard something in her voice that made her scales prickle. It wasn't fear. It wasn't even determination. It was eagerness. Understood, Chen said. That's what we're counting on. All ships execute deployment pattern Theta 7. Authorization code, remember the debt. The human ships moved. and the galaxy began to learn what humanity really was beneath their diplomatic smiles. The Unleashing. The first engagement happened at Calrath 7, a mining colony with 2 million inhabitants. The Vecran swarm had already consumed the outer settlements. Their biomass ships, organic nightmares of chitinous armor and acid weaponry, surrounded the planet in a roiling sphere of teeth and hunger. The Calrathi defense fleet, reduced to 7 ships, maintained a desperate holding pattern above the primary city, knowing they were buying hours at most. Then the humans arrived. Fleet Commander Orvesh watched his tactical display with confusion as the human vessels dropped out of FTL impossibly close to the planet. That kind of precision jump should have been impossible. It was also suicidal. They'd emerged directly inside the swarm's formation, surrounded by hundreds of Vecran bioships. Are they insane? His tactical officer whispered. The human ships didn't fire. Not immediately. Instead, they did something that made Orvesh's blood run cold. They activated some kind of broadcast on all frequencies, a signal that the Vecran couldn't ignore. Within seconds, every Vecran ship in the system began turning toward the human fleet. They're drawing the swarm's attention, Orvesh said. They're painting themselves as targets. Chen's voice came through on a private channel. Commander Orvesh, get your people out. You have approximately 12 minutes before this gets messy. What are you doing? Orvesh demanded. You can't possibly fight that many with 12 minutes, Commander. We studied your evacuation protocols. Your ships can extract 200,000 people in that time if you move now. So move, Orvesh wanted to argue. Wanted to tell these brave, foolish humans that sacrifice wasn't necessary. But he'd been a military officer for 60 years. He knew a tactical window when he saw one. All Calrathi ships begin emergency extraction. Prioritize the medical facilities and nurseries. His ships dove toward the planet, and above them the humans began their work. The Vecran swarm crashed against the human formation like a wave of organic horror. Acid projectiles, biomissiles, plasma weapons evolved over thousands of planets, all of it hammered into the human ships. Orvesh watched 3 human vessels take catastrophic damage in the first 30 seconds. Then the humans returned fire. The weapons weren't like anything Orvesh had seen. Kinetic accelerators that fired uranium-depleted slugs at a fraction of light speed, each impact releasing enough energy to crack a moon. Plasma lances that burned at temperatures that shouldn't exist outside a star's core. Missile pods that launched swarms of independently targeting warheads, each one containing... Are those nuclear weapons? His tactical officer asked, voice shaking. They were. Fusion warheads, antimatter charges, and weapons whose energy signatures Orvesh couldn't even identify. The humans were using weapons that most civilized species had banned centuries ago. Tools of extinction-level destruction, deployed with surgical precision directly into the heart of the swarm. The Vecran bioships died by the dozens. But they kept coming, drawn by whatever signal the humans were broadcasting. And Orvesh realized with dawning horror what he was watching. This wasn't a battle. It was an extermination. The human ships fought with a coordination that seemed impossible. They moved like they shared a single mind, covering each other's weaknesses, rotating damaged vessels to the rear while fresh ships took point. When one ship's weapons overheated, its companions adjusted their firing patterns to compensate. When Vecran bioships tried to swarm a single target, they found themselves caught in crossfire that reduced them to organic debris. But what truly terrified Orvesh was their efficiency. Every shot hit. Every missile found its mark. There was no panic, no hesitation. The humans fought the way his people performed surgery, with absolute precision and zero wasted movement. 9 minutes, Chen's voice reported calmly, even as her ship took a direct hit that would have crippled any Calrathi vessel. How's that evacuation going, Commander? Orvesh checked his displays. 140,000 extracted. We need more time, you'll get it. Continue operations. Another human ship took critical damage. Orvesh watched it begin to list, its port side torn open to vacuum. He expected it to retreat, to try to save itself. Instead, it accelerated. The damaged vessel plowed directly into the thickest concentration of Vecran ships, its reactor building to overload. The explosion, when it came, erased 20 Vecran bioships and created a temporary gap in the swarm's formation. Repaid has been lost, came a flat report from another human ship. Adjusting formation. Continuing engagement. They'd just sacrificed a ship and 300 crew members without hesitation. Orvesh felt his scales go rigid with shock. These humans weren't just willing to die for the Kalrathi. They'd planned for it. 12 minutes, Chen announced. Commander, you need to leave now. We've only evacuated 180,000, Commander. Chen's voice cut through his protest like a blade. In 60 seconds, we're going to deploy weapons that you don't want your people anywhere near. Trust me, get your ships clear of the planet. Orvesh looked at his tactical officer, looked at the numbers. 20,000 Kalrathi souls that could be saved if they just had a little more time. He opened his mouth to argue. Then he saw what the human ships were doing. They were forming a sphere around the planet, every vessel moving into position with perfect precision, and their weapon signatures were spiking, building to levels that made his instruments scream warnings. All ships, emergency departure, Orvesh shouted. Maximum speed, get us out of the system. The Kalrathi fleet fled, and behind them, the humans did something that would echo across the galaxy for generations. They burned the sky. The message, the Kalrathi flagship, Eternal Hope, jumped to safety at the edge of the system, its crew rushing to the observation ports to see what had happened. What they witnessed would be recorded in every galactic database as the Kalrath 7 event. The moment when humanity revealed what it truly was. The planet was intact. The civilian population that couldn't be evacuated was alive. But the space around the world had been transformed into a graveyard. The Vecran swarm, hundreds of bioships strong, had been completely annihilated, not defeated, not driven off, erased from existence with such totality that organic debris was the only evidence they'd ever existed. And the human ships, battered but unbroken, held formation around the planet. How? Orvesh whispered. His instruments showed residual radiation signatures, energy readings that suggested weapons he'd never imagined. What did they do? Chen's voice came through, calm as if she'd just finished a routine patrol. We deployed close-range antimatter charges in a synchronized detonation pattern. The radiation will clear in 48 hours. The planet is safe. The remaining population of 20,000 Kalrathi will need supplies and medical aid. We'll maintain a defensive position until your return. Antimatter. They'd used antimatter weapons in proximity to an inhabited world, with such precision that the civilians below had survived. The tactical sophistication required for that kind of strike was beyond anything Orvesh had encountered in 40 years of military service. You saved them, he said. Against those odds, you saved them. We told you we remembered our debt, Chen replied. This is just the first payment. The Battle of Kalrath 7 became the first of 17 engagements. The human fleet moved from besieged colony to besieged colony, and at each one they did the impossible. They learned the Vecran attack patterns after a single engagement. They adapted their weapons in real time. They fought with a combination of technological, sophistication, and tactical ruthlessness that made the Kalrathi's 3,000-year-old military doctrine look primitive. But it was at the Battle of Kalrath Prime that the galaxy truly understood what humanity had become. The Vecran had gathered their full swarm for the final assault. 3,000 bioships, enough to consume a dozen civilizations. They surrounded Kalrath Prime like a noose, preparing to devour the homeworld of the species that had once been the galaxy's greatest benefactors. The human fleet numbered 40 ships. Ambassador Thala stood in the council chambers of Kalrath Prime, watching the tactical displays with a mixture of grief and gratitude. The humans had saved 17 colonies. They'd evacuated 6 million Kalrathi. They'd proven that kindness wasn't weakness, that debts could be honored even across the stars. But there were limits to what 40 ships could do. Ambassador Chen, Thala said softly, you've done enough. You've saved so many. No one can ask you to die for us here. Please take your people and go. Chen's face appeared on the screen. She looked tired. There were burn scars on her cheek from a boarding action at Kalrath 12. But her eyes were clear. Ambassador, do you know why we call ourselves human? Chen asked. The word comes from ancient Earth languages. It means roughly of the earth or mortal. We are the people who remember we're temporary, that we die. And because we know we die, we have a choice about what we do with the time we have. She gestured off-screen, where Thala could see other human officers moving with efficient urgency. When the Kalrathi came to Earth, you didn't ask if we were worth saving. You didn't calculate the odds or the return on investment. You came because it was the right thing to do. You showed us that we weren't alone in the universe. That kindness existed beyond our little blue world. Chen's expression hardened. So here's what we're going to do, Ambassador. We're going to show the Vecran, and every other species watching this, what happens when you threaten the people who taught humanity that kindness matters. Chen, we're not leaving. We're not retreating. We're going to hold this world until the Vecran swarm is extinct, or we are. And I promise you, Ambassador, it won't be us. The human fleet moved into formation. 40 ships against 3,000. Mathematical impossibility made manifest. Then, space folded again and kept folding. Orvesh stared at his tactical display in disbelief as ship after ship materialized around Calrath Prime. These weren't military vessels. They were colony ships, merchant haulers, private yachts, converted mining barges. Every human ship that could mount a weapon, that could fly, that could fight. This is the Terran vessel Grandmother's Promise, came a voice thick with an accent Orvesh didn't recognize. I'm a cargo hauler out of the Tau Ceti colonies. My grandmother was on Earth during the plague. She survived because of the Calrathi. Where do you need us? Mining vessel Sweet Adelaide checking in. My weapons are just industrial cutters, but I figure a cutting laser doesn't care if it's splitting rocks or bugs. Private yacht Lucky Star. I've got 3 railguns I bought for anti-pirate work. Point me at whatever needs shooting. They kept coming. Hundreds of them! Human ships from across their small but growing sphere of influence. Civilian vessels crewed by shopkeepers and farmers and teachers who had heard that the Calrathi needed help. They weren't soldiers. Most had never been in combat, but they came anyway. Chen's voice cut through the chatter. All vessels, this is First Fleet. Welcome to Calrath Prime. We're going to hold this line together. We're going to protect these people who protected us, and we're going to teach the galaxy something important. What's that? Someone asked. That humanity never forgets. Form up. Execute protocol remembrance. The battle that followed would be studied in military academies for centuries. The humans didn't fight like any other species. They used civilian vessels as scouts, drawing fire to expose Vecran formations. They turned cargo holds into missile batteries. They fought with weapons improvised from mining equipment and construction tools. When ships were crippled, their crews evacuated to other vessels, and the empty hulks were remotely piloted into Vecran clusters as kinetic kill vehicles. They fought with absolute disregard for conventional tactics and perfect coordination of purpose. Professional soldiers fighting alongside civilians, military vessels coordinating with cargo haulers, all of them moving with singular focus. The Vecran swarm broke. Not because they were outgunned, though humanity's hidden arsenal proved devastating. Not because they were outmaneuvered, though human tactics proved superior. They broke because they encountered something they'd never faced before. An enemy that refused to accept defeat, that turned every loss into a weapon, that fought with such ferocious determination that even a mindless swarm recoiled. The surviving Vecran bioships fled into deep space, and the human fleet, battered and bleeding but unbroken, held formation around Calrath Prime. In the council chambers, Thala watched the impossible victory unfold. She turned to Orvesh, her voice shaking. How many species are watching this? All of them, he replied quietly. The Galactic Observation Network captured everything. Thala understood what that meant. The galaxy had watched the gentle humans, the young species that smiled and negotiated and seemed so harmless, reveal what they truly were. They'd seen Earth's children turn their merchant ships into warships. Seen them deploy weapons that violated a dozen treaties. Seen them fight with a savagery and sophistication that made the galaxy's oldest military powers look like children playing with toys. What have we done? Thala whispered. By helping them, by saving them, what have we unleashed on the galaxy? Chen appeared on the communication screen. She looked exhausted, her uniform stained with coolant and blood. Ambassador Thala, Calrath Prime is secure. The Vecran swarm has been eliminated from your space. Your people are safe, Ambassador Chen. I don't know how to thank you, Chen smiled. It was a tired smile, but genuine. You already did, Ambassador. 200 years ago. You taught us that kindness matters, that helping others is its own reward. We just wanted to make sure you remembered that lesson works both ways. She paused, glancing off-screen at something. One more thing, Ambassador. Tell the galaxy that Earth keeps its promises. Tell them we remember our friends. And tell them. Her smile faded, replaced by something harder. Tell them we never forget our enemies either. The transmission ended. In council chambers across the galaxy, ambassadors and leaders sat in stunned silence. The Zephrani, the Maltec, the Kresh, all the species who had abandoned the Kalrathi to their fate, all of them suddenly wondering what humanity thought of their betrayal. On Earth, in a small memorial park where 3 billion plague victims were remembered, workers added a new monument. It was simple, just a list of names. Human names. The crews who had died defending Kalrath Prime, and beneath the names a single line in standard Galactic. We remembered. The Kalrathi survived. Their civilization rebuilt, stronger and wiser. And they never forgot the humans who had come when no one else would, who had turned a debt of gratitude into a demonstration of power that changed the balance of the galaxy forever. Humanity had been underestimated. Dismissed as young, weak, primitive, they'd let the galaxy believe that because it was comfortable, safe, convenient. But when their friends needed them, they'd shown the truth. Behind the diplomatic smiles and peaceful overtures, humanity had been preparing, building, growing into something the galaxy had never seen before, a species that combined cutting-edge technology with ancient warrior instinct. A people who could be the gentlest friends and the most terrifying enemies. The Vecran swarm was extinct within a decade. Human ships hunted them across the galaxy with relentless efficiency, turning the hunters into the hunted. No one tried to stop them. No one dared. And in the council chambers of 1,000 worlds, ambassadors looked at the human representatives with new eyes. With respect, with gratitude, and with fear, because the galaxy had learned a lesson that day, a lesson that would echo through the ages, whispered in cautious tones whenever species gathered to discuss the political landscape. Help humanity once, and they will remember forever. They will be your most loyal friends, your most steadfast allies. They will cross the galaxy to honor a debt but betray them, abandon their friends, threaten those they've sworn to protect, and they will show you why old Earth had so many words for war.